we're about to hit some hot takes here. All right, are you ready? I don't think men should be single. I think of it like this: a single man is easily thwarted into a destructive path. What does that mean? Well, if you look at it this way, idle hands is the devil's plaything. Some men may view singledom as a fantastic party. They go out, they party a lot, they meet a lot of women, they do stuff with those women. Maybe they're single because they're really focused around their career and work. Maybe they're taking time away, or they just haven't been lucky to find someone. I don't think it's luck. It's you just have to build yourself up and play the numbers game at the end of the day and really know what you want. But I don't think men should be single. I think it's dangerous, honestly. There's like a quote out there I heard in a podcast once, and the gentleman said, the most dangerous person in society is a sexless, lonely, I forget the third trait, like sexless, lonely man. And that can easily become dangerous. I mean, if you look at the unfortunate circumstances that have happened in school, I have to keep it kind of vague because of YouTube. They might come at me for this, but where these people go into schools and they do really bad things. Some of those have written manifestos and have said why they did what they did. And mostly it was because they were lonely, they were sexless, they couldn't handle the rejection that comes around trying to find a relationship. No matter what, you're gonna be rejected. I think being in a relationship tames us a little bit, and we need to be a little tamed. I made a video the other day about skills every man needs. The emotional intelligence piece was a very important part of that, because men, when they don't have that, they can easily delve into the darkest parts of their mind. And humans naturally are violent. Just look at history. I think this is the most peace we've seen. It doesn't feel that way, but the most peace we've seen in comparison is back in the day, warring tribes. Imagine you're just sleeping in your camp, and all of a sudden, boom, another tribe comes, takes you out. And maybe you have your little camp, and there's a bunch of tribes not too far from you that at any moment, bye-bye. Countries where we have bodies of water kind of protecting us so we can see them coming from a mile away. And we have peace treaties and all these things right now. But a man shouldn't be single. I think idle hands is a double plaything. Shouldn't be idle. If anything, being in a relationship does tame us. If we know how to do it smartly, you can be tamed but easily work just as hard. As long as we find a woman who's understanding of that, who understands that you're a man who works hard, you're hustling, you're putting in that work. I don't think men should be single. At least not for too long. Yeah, you're going to be single for a few months after, maybe sometimes a few years, unfortunately, after you get a relationship. But going on the destructive path, you're leaving destruction in your wake. A lot of men lie to women when they're single. You're the only one. Or, they lead her on. Meanwhile, they never told her that they're just looking for something short term. They're just putting her around a finger and then eventually leaving her, even though she might be expecting to get into some kind of long-term deal when he doesn't want it. That's the hardest part, is that when you're single, is being honest and not leaving that destructive wake. As you lie, as you play around, you're playing with someone's feelings, and at the end of the day, you're creating a destructive path. You're messing them up in some shape or form. You're giving them a sort of, I'm not going to say trauma, but it's sort of thing they don't want to look for, and it ruins their expectations for future men out there. That's not right. It's very selfish. It's very narcissistic. So we need to be honest, and being in a relationship is the best thing you do, because at least you have focus. You're not thinking about sex all the time. Because as a man, hey, it's very important to us. For most guys, I know there's some rare people out there who really don't think about sex as often. Maybe it's a biological thing, mental thing, I don't know. But for the most part, we are sexual beings, and it's going to be something we think about all the time unless we know how to transmute it, as I mentioned in another video. But that's hard to build. That's hard to do. I don't freaking know how to do that well. I can try my best, and there's been moments where I'm like, I feel sexual right now. Let me sit, let me meditate, let me transmute it into creative energy and go from there. That's not the case all the time. Work hard and get into a relationship. Now, how do you do that? You might be wondering. It's not hard, guys. You create your pros and cons list of a woman you want. Think back to all the women you have been with. What are the traits that you absolutely loved about them? What are the traits you absolutely hated? I mean, when I say absolutely hated, I mean you thought of breaking up with them because of these things. And usually it's not that many. Usually it's like 2 or 3, especially if you're in a really long-term relationship. Because if it was any more than that, you would have left them. Think those pros and cons lists. And then when you look at the cons list, think about what are definite no's. Like what is like if I see this in someone else, I will immediately stop seeing them. That's like a non-negotiable. That's what you would consider. And make a list of your non-negotiables and things that you'll be okay with if they have. And as you meet women, you be honest, especially if you're not looking for anything long-term or anything serious. There are women out there who are open to being in somewhat of a short-term type of deal. Just don't lie and leave that destructive wake in your path. But create that list. Understand your needs, understand your wants, be honest, be truthful. And with that, eventually you will find your person. And you will know you find your person because they cover at least 80% of your wants. 70 to 80% of your wants. You get along, you know how to fight well. Is that something I learned? Read the book Nonviolent Communication. That will teach you how to have disagreements well and how to avoid a lot of confrontation and fights. You shouldn't be fighting anyway. You should have discussions. There's no yelling and things like that. That comes from an emotional place. Remember, you switch it from here to here. I talked about that in my last video. And as you do that, as you build, you make sure to ask questions. You talk about each other's paths and you really read them well. Some of you may not have a job that requires you to talk to a lot of people day to day. I think that's a really great skill I have because as you talk to people every day, you start to see unconscious tics that everyone has, unconscious biases. You get to see certain ways they act. You can read them well. I'm lucky to have grown up in a place where I had to do that. I had no choice. It was dangerous around where I lived. I had to I can tell when someone's in a bad mood. I can tell when someone's switched, right? They were happy one moment and next moment they just kind of went deadpan or switch to a different emotion, and I can kind of feed that and feel that and read that from a person. That's through building my own from naturally being that way, but also my job requires me to talk to people all the time. You know, it's easy to tell when someone's lying. You can usually tell when they're lying by asking them questions and making them run around that lie for a little while, and eventually they start giving you different answers to the same question if you know how to ask the question right. So yeah, I learned that through years of doing it. But these are things you pick up as you talk to people. So get comfortable with that. If you don't have a job where you talk to people all the time, join some clubs, pick up a hobby, meet people when you're out with your friends. There are different ways of doing it where you can begin to read people. It takes time, but eventually you'll figure it out. So you know if you meet a woman, she ain't lying to you, bro. She might lie to you just like you lie to her. It's an unfortunate part of humankind. So find your lists, build your lists, meet more people, be honest and truthful. When you're in a relationship, see how you feel, see how it builds, see how it grows. And even if it's something uncomfortable happens, see how you manage that with the person, especially the first time. That's the most important piece. And how you handle it the first time is usually foundationally how you might handle it moving forward, unless you fix it and you work on it and it happens again, and then you figure out if it actually worked the first time, what you did to get out of it, and then you go from there. So don't be single for too long. Take time, find a woman, and get after it. Until tomorrow.